Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Liam's Hockey. Here we go, starting off a new month, brought to you, of course, by Hosie and Brown Automotive, and today, Al Heron Sales and Service. We'll have a little bit more about Al and their operation on Bank Street. 2701 Bank Street is the address, and as per normal, we'll have a little bit of some more details on their great operation a little bit later on, as they are a Hosie and Brown client and garage, and that's the way we roll here on Liam's Hockey. So we'll take that out at the end of the little hit here. Not too much today. Fire up another week, a new month here. I know they're calling for a good blow of snow here. Actually, it's already started, so probably supposed to get a little heavier this afternoon. So should be pretty good. But anyway, just quickly on the weekend wrap up. Montreal Canadiens lose again. The Calgary Flames come back, get a big win over Ottawa. And the Toronto Maple Leafs with their best performance of the year. Probably start there. 4-0 win over Edmonton. Doing it without Austin Matthews, who's listed as day-to-day. Could play the next game here against Edmonton. But they really made it look academic. And look, anytime you're shutting out McDavid and Draisaitl, you've done something right in the game, and it's not that hasn't happened already this season. It has, and of course it will periodically, but let's be honest, it's rare. You've got two of the best players in the game, certainly the best in McDavid, and Draisaitl coming off the year he had last year, and he's already had another good one. So that was a huge win for Toronto, and they look good doing it, and without Austin. So, hey, look, it's one game, we'll see what Edmonton has for them if they can bounce back. But, again, I've said it all along. I think the North is the weakest division. I'll continue to beat that drum. But I do believe that Toronto is elevating marginally, or incrementally, maybe the better word, as the weeks go by into being a contender. At the end of the day, it's all a wash, right? Someone's going to win 2 rounds in the North and advance to the semis. So whoever it is will go in with some momentum, providing they're healthy and hopefully make a good account of themselves. But it does look like at this point right now, just past a third of the way into the season, that the Toronto Maple Leafs are separating themselves in this division. And I did have Toronto Edmonton 1-2. I keep going back to that. I had Montreal 3. They're now winless in 5. Although that was their best game in the last 5 that they played on Saturday. They deserved a better fate. They certainly deserved at least a point. I'll bounce out of Toronto here right now and say, look, I mean, we all know Matthews is day-to-day. I don't do this show to give you the up-to-date injury reports, but it's just that was a complete effort by Toronto, and notably as well from guys like Hyman. I mean, they've got some guys, Mikheyev, Hyman, Kerfoot, these guys that are, because there really is the have and the have-nots in Toronto in terms of their payroll. We all know that. But they have gotten some really, really solid performances from some of those guys. And really, it's the back end. I continue to say TJ Brodie has made a huge difference back there. What you see at O'Reilly is what you get. I'd say, barring anything really unforeseen, he's a lock for Team Canada next year if the Olympics do, in fact, go ahead. And really, I mean, if they get the goaltending, they're going to be a tough out in the North for sure. And then beyond, who knows? I mean, win some games. Whoever does come out of the North will win some games in the semi, but I do think ultimately, regardless, they will lose. But we'll just have to see. We're going to get there quick enough. Believe me, there's a ton of games coming here in a short period of time to finish this season. God willing, we will. COVID notwithstanding. So, big win for Toronto. Montreal, as mentioned, deserved a better fate. Outshot Winnipeg. Really dominated the game territorially. Just couldn't buy one. I wouldn't say necessarily Hellebuck stole it. But probably noteworthy for this, the start of the Jake Allen era in Montreal, such as it is, may not be very long, but you're going to see him now in a series of games. I do not think we'll see Carey until the Habs next back-to-back. They kind of alluded, they being Montreal staff, Dominic Ducharme said it himself, that Carey now will be working extensively with Stéphane Waite and will not start again until all parties feel that he's ready to go. And I'm assuming by that they mean everybody, coaching staff, probably managerial staff, undoubtedly Carey himself, and Stéphane Waite, the goalie coach. So Jake Allen is in the top 10. He's actually more in the top 10. He's in the top 5 to 8 to 7 of full-time starters. He's not a full-time starter, but somebody who's played at least double-digit games. You get these anomalies if you look at the stats and guys have played 1 game or 2 games. Like Joey DeCord is in with 1,000 winning percentage right now because he played the third period against Calgary, stopped 5 shots, didn't allow a goal. So that skews the stats. You just got to take those guys out regardless. Jake Allen is top 10 all day in the league, regular tenders. And we're going to get a run of him right now, and Montreal's hoping that he can continue in sort of a starter role here right now in the short term, while hopefully Carey finds his groove and can get back on track. It is bewildering to me, to say the least, that he could play 10 games like he did in August, and then come out this year and just really, other than a couple of outings, like he had 2 or 3 pretty solid 60-minute efforts. He had a couple shutouts that got ended late in games, but he played really well in those games. He's had stretches in games where he just has made some unbelievable saves, but I mean, he has reverted back to the guy he's been the last 3 years, which is borderline porous numerous times, key times in games that have cost them points. And aside from the fact that there are some structural issues on Montreal that have crept into their game here very quickly since their hot start, most notably in situations like 4-on-4 and 3-on-3, and certainly specialty teams. Other than that, they actually are an excellent team 5-on-5. They were last year as well. You know, despite the fact they were going to miss the playoffs until they got to get their cake and eat it by getting the play-in round against Pittsburgh. Played a disinterested Pittsburgh team, and I look back on it now and I go, my God, Liam, you got sucked in. You got sucked in like all the Sens fans did in 2017 when the Senators went to double overtime in Game 7 against Pittsburgh, and so many Sens fans thought, this is it, we're on our way. We're going to go back next year, we're going all the way, baby, final, look at our team, look what we did, look how Carlson played, this, that, and everything else. And of course, they've been on a one-way path to nowhere since then. Abysmal, second last, useless. And why? Because that Boston team were missing 6 or 7 regulars who Ottawa beat in the first round. Then they got a Ranger team who blew their load against Montreal, especially their goaltender Lundqvist. Couldn't stop a beach ball against Ottawa. And then they get into Pittsburgh and they played well. And guys like Bobby Ryan had the best hockey of his career. And Erik Karlsson, who was a superstar, he's nothing now, but was then. And that was his swan song. And he went out and he played unbelievable. And Hoffman played unbelievable, and they were full measure to take that series to 7 games in double OT against Pittsburgh. But there was nothing there to build on, and I fell into the same trap as I have been with that win over Pittsburgh. And I even remember saying to my roommate and his son, after the night that Montreal beat Pittsburgh, I said, I've never seen a more disinterested Penguin team. They did not want to hang in the bubble. They couldn't wait to get out of there. They've got their Stanley Cup victories are still ringing in their ears, to use the old Patrick Waugh quote against Jeremy Roenick, and they mailed it in. And then because Montreal kind of had a little bit of a pushback against Philly, but Carey Price played so well through all 10 games that I thought, and then you pick up Josh Anderson and Toffoli, and they're scoring really, like, other than a couple of blips here and there. I mean, they've been phenomenal for Montreal this year. I got sucked in because that was not, that team obviously wasn't as good as I thought, and even had some friends, some acquaintances, strangers calling me out for my comment on this best Canadian team I've seen in 40 years, which would take them back to the early 80s, where the Montreal Canadiens in the decade of the 1980s had a phenomenal decade. They had they won a Stanley Cup. They had 2 trips to the finals. They had 3 trips to the semis. They were, I think, the second, third winningest team in regular season that decade with Edmonton and Philadelphia. They were right there. Obviously, it was the Islanders and Edmonton's decade Stanley Cup-wise, but the Canadians in the latter part of that decade, from their Cup win, 86, semifinals, 87, got beat second round by Boston when Telvin broke Stéphane Richet's thumb or hand, and then the Habs come back, beat the Bruins in 89, go all the way to the finals, and that was a fantastic series. Losing to Calgary in 6 was a great one. Habs had a 2-1 lead. I digress. But that was a good decade for Montreal, and when I made that comment, I wasn't referencing the Habs as the Habs. They didn't look as good as the Habs from the 70s. What I did say is I said they're rolling 4 lines like I haven't seen since then. But I was cautious when I said 40 years, and I didn't say 45 years for that very reason. But of course, when I said 40 years, people just automatically thought I was referring to, he's talking about the 76 to 79 Habs. Well, no, I'm not, or I would have said 45 years. But regardless, it was a Facebook comment I do on this little thing here, Liam's Hockey, that I post on my social media. And I got people throwing it back in my face there on the weekend. And, seriously, people, get a grip, man. So I made a statement. Turns out right now it doesn't appear as if it's correct. All right. So don't lose your shit over it. I mean, it's I'm not working for Hockey Night in Canada here. So I made an assessment. It appears right now as if it was wrong. I still think Montreal will make the playoffs here. And then we'll see. But right now, the biggest disappointment on that team, despite the structure, specialty teams, is Carey Price. Carey Price has been by far and away the biggest disappointment on Canadians in this short season. And if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be in. They'd be in either with points, they'd be in winning percentage, no matter how you slice it. They'd be in. And that's winless in 5. So, St. Louis were winless in 3, or didn't win a game in 3, and bounced back. Boston suffered their 2 worst losses of the season. Came back, got a big win yesterday. Now, 2 isn't 5, but I mean, when you're giving up 13, 14 goals in 2 games, and you're the Boston Bruins, that's not good. So, there's going to be a lot of blips on everybody's play this year, schedule, and whatnot. It's just the nature of how it's unfolding. And Montreal is certainly suffering in that right now. So, number 1, if Allen can give him some goaltending, I don't blame him at all. For either of the 2 goals he allowed, the one in OT, got in behind him. The Habs totally blew it 36 seconds in anyway. They rarely touch a puck, it seems, in overtime. And then, of course, the first goal is a power play goal. It's a great shot. No worries there. And Suzuki scored a bit of a fluke, but I see Jack Eichel shoot from there all the time, and a lot of other guys, and it bounced in. Good play. He's a highly skilled guy. Great to see him back scoring again, because they're going to need him going, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, Carey Price, he's the back burner right now. That's what I said, when I did my little thing after Claude Julien was let go, and I wrote it on social media as well, and said this is the biggest decision Dominic Ducharme has got to make right out of the gate. Is he has got to put Carey Price as a backup, and they have done that. And I'm I'm not saying I'm Toe Blake here to have read that by all means, but I think a lot of other people were saying the same thing. Anyway, that's the status of the Habs. Winnipeg Jets, hell in a cell, man. Even though Montreal dominated them Saturday night, they've got a real good team. And Dubois is back. He's looked pretty decent, I think. They've got Hellebuck, the defending Vezina Trophy winner. I mean, they got some holes there, obviously, depth and on D, and they can be exposed. And I think that's why Montreal showed that on Saturday, and that was without Josh Anderson, who got hurt in the game before when he was slew-footed by DeMello and no penalty. And Corey Perry takes a high stick, and there's no penalty. They go down and score. They've had some bad luck. They're certainly the second most penalized team in the league, Montreal are, and many of them are undisciplined and warranted calls. Every team can cite brutal calls because the refereeing has just descended to the depths of which I have not seen in the history of the NHL. And I've seen some times when I've really questioned it as a whole, but never more so than this season. And listen, it's somewhat due to what the directives they've been given. And I say to my son all the time, we text back and forth on game nights, and when calls are made and you shake your head, I just go look it. Watch any game. 80% of the calls are ticky-tack. They are. They just are. They've got no bearing on the game. They're not taking away scoring chances. It's a little flick, little tip, little this, little that, whatever they got to call it. And then you let bloody murder go on, maybe in front of the net, or these so-called head or non-head shots, and either no calls or no repercussions in any way, shape, or form. And then they call just a little thing like that gets called, and it is what it is. So it's frustrating to see, or the missed calls like they did on Corey Perry. And look, when things are going bad, when you're in a slide, it's the hardest thing, man, to get out of. You got to gut it out, grind it out, and they did that on Saturday, and to push that game into OT. So we'll see what happens here. It's pretty much a must-win for them against Ottawa tomorrow. You're going to have the Sens on a back-to-back. Ottawa is not the team that started the year. Boy, they in Montreal have kind of gone like two ships in the night in role reversal. You watch that game even against Calgary on Saturday, where the Sens lost 6-3. We're never really in it. Out of it early, and for all sorts of different reasons. I mean, there was a number of players that just had defensive breakdowns. Calgary came out flying. You knew they were going to be a whole lot better. They were on the back end of a back-to-back after an emotional game against Toronto the night before. Came in Ottawa, laid an egg, and then came back. So we'll see tonight. We'll see tonight what Sens team and what Flames team we have, because I'll tell you what, Ottawa never quit. They will not quit in a game anymore. And I like so much what they are doing offensively, structure-wise. Now, they're getting some great performance. Stützle is right up there with the Russian from Minnesota. I still haven't got my... I have to learn how to say his name. I know it's not all that difficult. I can say all the Russians from 72, so I can't remember his name. But anyways, the Russian from Minnesota right now, if the Calder vote was today, he'd get it. But Stützle would probably finish second. And you got Norris right there too. So it's like I said, last Liam's Hockey, there hasn't been a team since the 76 Islanders to have two players finish 1-2 in Calder Trophy voting. So Brian Trottier won and Chico Resch finished second. It's very, very rare. It's only happened like 4 or 5 times in the history of the NHL. Going back to the 30s when the Calder Award, then the Calder Trophy started. Started in 33, became the trophy in 37, and the official Memorial Trophy in 43. A little bit of history for you. So, yeah, I mean, Batherson, they're getting some performances, man. I mean, they had some other guys, even Colin White starting to score. I mean, he's scoring a little bit now. He's starting to earn that contract a little bit more if he gets his feet underneath him. And you've got Shabbat back there. He's had sort of an up-and-down season, but he's going to be crucial for them going forward. Brady Tkachuk continues to be outstanding for them, and they've got the basis there of a real good young team in the making. That said, they're not an easy out at any time, and they always play Montreal and Toronto well. The majority of wins that they've had this year have come against both those teams. So I look at it from the Habs going back after winless in 5. This team, Ottawa, beat you twice recently, even though you got points, and not good enough. And so find a way to get the W here, and we'll see Jake Allen. So that's probably a good sign if you're a Hab fan. And then we'll see, hopefully, Josh Anderson with the extra day should be good to go. Obviously bruised something, probably tailbone related, I'm thinking. I know his left ankle got twisted a little bit when he went down on that slew foot from DeMello. But we'll see. We'll see how they look tomorrow night. In the meantime, Sens Calgary tonight. So that's pretty much it. Just 2 other things. Patrick Kane, 400th goal. Got to give him credit, man. Here's a Chicago franchise, been around since 1926, and he's the 4th guy to get 400 goals. It's kind of surprising, really, but your 2 usual suspects, Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita, and then Steve Larmer scored over 400 goals for the Blackhawks, and what a line that was in the 80s with Al Secord and Denny Savard and Steve Larmer. They were outstanding. Denny Savard, we all know what he did, and you want to talk about shorthanded goals. Google Denny Savard's shorthanded goal against Edmonton. Maybe the greatest shorthanded goal in NHL history, and I'd put it right up there for sure. And you had Al Secord had a 50-goal season. He's the last guy to do so and not wear a helmet. The last guy to have 50-goal season in the NHL and not wear a helmet. So kind of an interesting anecdote there. And then Steve Larmer was just all world. I mean, Calder Trophy winner. Didn't get his cup till he went to the Rangers, but contract dispute broke up his consecutive game streak. Otherwise, he was on schedule to pass Dougie Jarvis for the most career games. As it stands, He's still down in behind Gary Unger, but interestingly enough, that whole schedule was set up for him to beat that against the LA Kings and Wayne Gretzky. Not that Wayne's noted for consecutive games, but they just wanted it as a big theatrical matchup, and then he had the contract dispute and ended up going to New York and got that Stanley Cup in 1994. How he's not in the Hall of Fame is beyond me. There's just some guys, right, that should be in. Everyone knows my position on Paul Henderson, but Theo Fleury, Alexander McGillney, Steve Larmer, all three of them should be in before Daniel Alfredson, in my opinion. But anyway, we'll see what happens. The Hall of Fame is a very political entity, and they march to their own drum. And it's been for a long time the Hall of Very Good. So kudos to everybody who gets in. Use the old Brian Kilray line there for sure. If you get nominated, or you get inducted, I should say, in whichever category, then congrats. It's as simple as that. Case closed, you move on. But Larmer, to me, is a Hall of Famer. Based on what's in there, all day, he's a Hall of Famer. Don't forget internationally as well. 1991 Canada Cup. He was our best forward. Wayne got hurt. And otherwise it would have been Wayne. In fact, you could still make the case. But Wayne got hurt. And, usual run by Suter. But Larmer really excelled, especially against the States in the finals. So good stuff anyway there. So congratulations to Patrick Kane. Pretty cool. 400 career goals. Fourth Chicago Blackhawk to do it. So very impressive stuff. Last thing to finish on before we get into Al Heron sales and service is Jordan Binnington. So he got pulled. He allowed 4 goals on 19 shots against San Jose on Saturday night. I'm sure you've all seen the highlight. And it is amazing. Excuse me. Amazing to see the snowflakes crying. What the hell? So he gave one of the guys, he went over in front of the bench and gave this, he gets pulled. So he's going off, they're putting in their backup. It's a Finnish kid they drafted in 2014. His name is Ville Huno or Heno or something like that. Finnish kid, goaltender. They drafted in 2014. So he's in their system. He's backing up. I think it's his 5th or 6th game he's appeared in this year. So this is Binnington's baby. They're riding the guy who took him to the dance here a couple of years ago. And for the most part, he's played okay. He's had a couple bad runs. But anyway, they pulled him in this game. And he's going off the ice. Now, I didn't watch the game. I was watching all Hockey Night in Canada stuff on Saturday. So I didn't see the game, saw the highlights like everybody else. So I don't know what led to it. But he goes over in front of the San Jose bench, gives a guy a shot, gives Carlson a shot with the blocker as he's skating by. And then as he's going off, he goes over and gives Dubnyk, the San Jose goalie, a shot. It looks like he's ready to square up till they get him off the ice. They gave him an unsportsmanlike penalty. And the snowflakes online crying like it's the worst atrocity they've ever seen. Jesus. So he showed a little bit of emotion. What the hell is wrong with people? So he showed a little bit of emotion. He gave a couple guys a couple shots. They gave him a penalty. In fact, they put him 2 men down about 40 seconds later. If Carlson doesn't take the hooking penalty, they've got a 2-man advantage for about $1.40. But Carlson ends up taking a hooking penalty to kill the 2-man. But anyway, what a game. And St. Louis come back to win the game. And in fact, that game tied a very unique NHL statistic. They tied the record for the most tying goals in one game. 6 times that game was tied. Ended up 7-6 St. Louis, and the winner was a shorty. On top of that, a shorty to win it. I mean, holy lifted, a little bit of everything. I got zero problem with what Binnington did. This guy won a Stanley Cup. And he's been one of the most consistent goaltenders since he came out of nowhere 2 years ago in January, basically, with a last place St. Louis team. So, for the snowflakes that were crying about the optics of how it looked, for God's sake, go watch another sport. Get the hell out of ours. Jesus, it's so embarrassing to go on social media and watch people cry like stuck pigs over a little pushing that ended up getting penalized as the guy's going off the ice. Because he was a goalie and you never see it. Big freaking deal. Oh, God. Unbelievable. Now I really do need a whiskey. Al Heron Auto Sales. I love it, man, I tell you. 2701 Bank Street. Now, I don't know about you people, but it's a big shot. I don't know about you people, but when I hear those numbers, now I know because I used to be a courier. I was the #1 courier in the city of Ottawa, so I know every street and every number. But for a lot of other people, when you hear that number, you probably don't know where it is. The 2701 Bank Street, if you know Hunt Club and Bank, you're right there. You just go south. It's right there on the left-hand side, just left, just as you start, just up on the left as you get past Albion. And you're just rolling up as it's starting to curve, road starting to curve, head south down towards Winchester. So 2701 Bank Street, Al Heron Auto Sales. Now, they've been around since 1978. I had a fabulous conversation with Allison, with Al's daughter. We talked a long time to get some of the specs on this fantastic operation, Al Heron Sales and Service. Been around since 78. Now, I've been in there a few times, and I've done some deliveries for Hosie and Brown in my past. I dropped some stuff in there before. I knew the location. I know how great it looks in there, and I knew they'd been around a long time. And I heard about Al over the years, right? I knew he had raced a little bit, so I asked Allison about it. This guy raced at Capital City. Now, it doesn't matter he wasn't there very long. He raced late models in the 1960s. Anybody who's been around cars that long probably is going to be able to take care of yours. If he was doing the work on his to get a vehicle ready to race at Capital City, I'm pretty sure if he's setting up an operation as a mechanic and hiring mechanics, they're going to be able to do a good job. And she said something to me in our phone call that I really, really loved. I'm going to repeat it here now. And she said that our customers, and she told me the wide scope of distance that they come for service, sales and service at Al Heron Sales and Service. She said that their customers, they come for an oil change, they never leave. I love it. Don't you love that? They come in to get just an oil change, but they're coming back. You need front end work done, you need tranny work done. They're full body, they do the whole 9 yards. But they're also licensed to sell. Al Heron Sales and Service. And they always have a few used cars on the lot. And you know what, folks? You can do a lot worse things than hunting around for a used vehicle when you need one. Then look at some of these places that have a couple on their lot, because you know they're going to be in pristine condition, fully safety, good to go. They'll give you the exact straight goods on everything that they've got on that vehicle or vehicles that they may have. And like they've got the Chevy Traverse there right now, 2009, selling for less than $6,000. And it looks gorgeous in the photo, so who knows, right, what anybody may be looking for. Go and check it out. But it's they've got 3 great big double bays. I know that myself, having been in there. It's a beautiful operation. They've been in, as I said, they opened just a couple years after Hosie and Brown. Hosie and Brown 76, Al Heron Auto Sales in 78. So there you go at 2701 Bank Street, and we wish them well for sure. And if you've got any questions at all, give them a call. Ask for Allison, because that's what I did, and I had a fabulous conversation. So we wish them the best. We thank them for being a partner of Hosie and Brown's, who are supplying their plug today, and happy to do so. 2701 Al Heron Sales and Service. All the best to them. We'll finish with a little toast of Irish whiskey, and I'm going to toast my mother. I mentioned this, I think, last show and also on social media, who celebrated her 90th birthday on Saturday. God love you, Sa. We had a fabulous day on Saturday with some family and a few friends, and we tried to do as much as we could in and around COVID. We couldn't do anything near what we would have wanted to, but we'll do that down the road when we're more fully allowed to. But I'll finish with a toast to her. I'll finish with a toast to Al Heron Sales and Service. Of course, Hosie and Brown as our title sponsor here at Liam's Hockey. And everybody be well, stay safe, and we'll catch you in a couple days and see how the Sens do over the next couple days. And les Canadiens de Montréal, demain soir. Let's go. Get it on. G'day.